All right, folks, we are live. I am excited. I love doing this. Love to be back in the saddle after being out for what has been about a week. So join me tonight. We are going to be digging in. It's quite a bit. I got reflection on my face. I'm going to turn my hat backwards here. Actually, that kind of looked funky, but loads of information tonight, guys. We're going to be digging deep. So this is going to be a video that you're going to want to see. Lots of information. It's a 4-part video. So if you, guys, we have to get this information out. And I'll explain why here in just a second. So I'm really excited about coming to you get live again tonight for the first time in about a week or so, or maybe 8 or 5 days. I don't know how long it's been. So come join us, share this video, lots of information. It's going to be a 4-part video. And let me go over 4 parts with you guys really quick so you can get excited about the first part. We're going to look at is the proof that the media, Google, etc. are 100% manipulating us and 100% manipulated the elections. Andrew, thank you, said it's about time. The second part of the video. So that's part 1. Second part of the video, proof that we are being brainwashed. Proof. And the technique that they are using basically for brainwashing us. Okay. The third is evidence that Joe Biden is not our president. Okay. I'm going to be very clear about that. We're going to go over a lot of information. Fourth, some just other things that you need to be aware of. Just a bunch of truth bombs, massive news. It could get a little long. What the plan is about 8 to 10 minutes on each subject. So stick with me. If you're not entertained by the first part or don't feel like it's information that trust me, each part is going to be interesting tonight. So share this video, guys. And I know a lot of people are like, man, my family thinks I'm crazy. Guys, the fact is we are living in a crazy time right now, and the truth needs to come out. The truth needs to come out, and you're going to hear some truth tonight. And in particular, the first part that is backed, the truth is backed by some information that we need to hear. So share the video, get folks on. I'm going to look at what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on my phone. I may have to charge it onto my computer here because I want to see I can't really see who's on my computer. So guys, get folks on. This is going to be a good time tonight. I'm going to put my glasses on for a second. I'm going to pull up the video. Everybody can hear me okay? As everybody can hear me, we are going to get started and we're going to jam on. So anyway, all right. So guys, welcome Andrew, Tammy, Kendall, Mike Nation, Reba, Lucy. I don't know. So guys, share this. Lots of information tonight. Share. Please. There's information we need to know. Okay. Very important information we need to know. So please pass the word, share. Again, 4 things. Proof that the media, Google, etc. are 100% manipulating us and 100% manipulated the election. Second part, proof that we're being brainwashed, or evidence to show the technique for which the media and others have basically sold us a sack of lies. Third part, evidence that Joe Biden is not our president. Fourth part, just a bunch of other things that we need to be aware of that's going on that the news media is not going to tell you. So let's just jump in. All right. Who's excited? Anybody excited? We ready? So let me just open up in prayer. I think it's important that the Lord lead our conversation, so that the Lord would lead us. So Jesus, we just want to come to you right now, and we need truth. We need truth. And we just ask that you would bless our time, bless this discussion. I pray that you would lead me, that you would take over the words of my mouth, and that you would open up our hearts. And Lord, so much to pray about that we'll do more of that later. So in Jesus' name, amen. All right. Who's ready? All right. Very interested. Cool. Well, Kyle, all right, here's the deal. The first thing I said I was going to discuss is proof that Google is 100% manipulating us. And I want to explain this, and it may be long and it may be detailed, but this is information you need to get in your head to understand the magnitude of this manipulation. This is serious, guys. This isn't just Michael talking. This is backed up. There's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Robert Epstein. Interesting, his name's Epstein of all things. I'm going to read some of this because it's really, really powerful stuff. I'm Dr. Robert Epstein. I'm not, this guy is. The father of 5 children, a resident of California, and a research psychologist at the American Institute of Behavioral Research and Technology. I love America and democracy, and I'm also not, pay attention to this, not a conservative. He's been center-left his whole adult life, and you will see in a moment why this fact is relevant to my testimony. So it appears that Robert Epstein presented this information to Congress to tell them that Google and these platforms are manipulating us. So stay tuned. He said, I'm here today for 3 reasons. To explain why Google represents a serious threat to democracy and human autonomy. To explain how passive monitoring systems can protect us both now and in the future from companies like Google. And to tell you how Congress can immediately end Google's worldwide monopoly on search. My plan for ending that monopoly was published just yesterday. This was July 15th of 2019. This is a very good study. Please listen to what he says. By Bloomberg Business Week. I'm attaching a copy of my article to my testimony and respectfully that be entered into the congressional record. So this information was presented to Congress and they ignored it. Now I want to share this information. Powerful, powerful information. Please pay attention. So some of you may not find this fascinating. I find it mind-boggling. Since 2012, some of my research and writings have focused on Google LLC, specifically on the company's power to suppress content, the censorship problem, if you will, as well as on the massive surveillance the companies conduct, and also the company's unprecedented ability to manipulate the thoughts and behaviors, again, pay attention to this, of more than 2.5 billion people worldwide. Data I've collected since 2016 shows that Google displays content to the American public that is biased in favor of a political party. This is in the report. A party I happen to like, but that's irrelevant. No private company should have either the right or the power to manipulate large populations without their knowledge. I published articles about my research on Google in both scientific publications and a wide array of mainstream news sources, Time Magazine, U.S. News and World Report, USA Today, Dissent, The Hill, Huffington Post, for example, but also in the Daily Caller and even in Russian Sputnik News. I reached out to diverse audiences because the threats posed by Google and to a lesser extent Facebook are so serious, listen to this, that I think everyone in the world needs to know about them. I put my own political leanings aside. Again, this guy considers himself liberal or more center liberal, okay? When I report my data and concerns because the problems these companies present eclipse personal politics. To put it another way, I love humanity, my country, and democracy more than I love a particular candidate. And democracy was originally conceived, cannot survive, listen to this, big tech as currently empowered. He says, if you were to examine the data I've been collecting over the past 6.5 years, every one of you would put partisanship aside and collaborate to reign in the extraordinary power that Google and Facebook now wield with unabashed arrogance. Now, here's where the information comes in. You ready? Share, 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 share right now. Okay. He goes on to say that Google alone persuaded a minimum of 2.6 million up to 10 million votes to one political candidate that last election. That was in 2016. So he's proven that Google manipulated people by up to 10 million votes in the last election. Basically, they were able to manipulate the first 10 positions on search engines to favor one candidate. Semi, they use a program called Semi. It's a program that they have designed that they can plug in basically algorithms or whatever you want to call it to manipulate search results. So what you're getting is not information that's natural, it's information that they purposely push to the top. It's called SEMI. It's search engine manipulation effect. When fine-tuned, and he explains it, when fine-tuned to optimize the masking of search results, SEMI can make that bias practically undetectable, invisible. In a 2006 essay, Epstein linked the overall effect, this is Robert Epstein, not the other guy, effect of SEMI to that of Casper the ghost pushing you down a flight of stairs. The idea is, yeah, I love that analogy. Casper the ghost pushing you down. You don't see it, but yet you're falling down the steps because it's so powerful. Okay. Love that analogy. This has extremely powerful effects on elections. Search engine manipulation effect, can create anywhere from a 20 to 80% shift in candidate preference depending on the demographic group targeted. And with undecided voters, take a 50-50 split and shift it all the way to 90-10. Google can manipulate elections from a 50-50 to a 90-10. Most frightening of all, research indicates that Google has the power to flip upwards of 25% of national elections in the world. Okay, so Google, this is not just a US problem, okay? We present evidence from 5 experiments in 2 counties suggesting the power and robustness of the search engine manipulation effect. Specifically, we show that biased search rankings can shift the voting preference of undecided voters 20% or more. The shift can be much higher in some demographic groups. Such rankings can be masked so that people show no awareness of this manipulation. Knowing the proportion of undecided voters in a population who have internet access, along with the proportion of those voters who can be influenced using SIMI, allow one to calculate the win margin below which SIMI might be able to determine an election outcome. Okay, stick with me. Loads of information in this, and we're going to dig deeper. There's more information I'm going to share with you. Internet search rankings have a significant impact on consumer choices, mainly because users trust and choose higher ranking results more than low ranked results. Given the appropriate power of search rankings, we ask whether they could be manipulated to alter the preference of undecided voters in democratic elections. Actually, before I go any further, I published this information on my personal Facebook page and I got kicked off, so I had to start another. That's why I'm on another. So they will probably kick me off for this. Here we report the results of 5 relevant double-blind randomized controlled experiments using a total of 4,556 undecided voters. Undecided, so that they use this sample of undecided voters representing diverse demographic characteristics of the voting populations in the United States and India. So they picked 2 randomly different places. The 5th experiment is especially notable that it conducted with eligible voters throughout India in the midst of India's 2014 Lok Sabha elections just before the final votes were cast. These results of these experiments demonstrated that biased search rankings can shift the voting preferences of undecided voters, again, by 20%. The shift can be much higher in some demographic groups, and search rankings can be masked so that people show zero awareness of the manipulation. So basically what Google is doing is putting information up to the top that manipulates your mind, your behavior, etc. We call this type of influence, which might be applicable to a variety of attitudes and beliefs, the search engine manipulation effect. Given that many elections are won by small margins, our results suggest that search engine company has the power to influence the results of a substantial number of elections with impunity. The impact of such manipulations will be especially large in countries dominated by a single search engine company. Stick with me. Loads more information coming. Share, 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 share. Recent research has demonstrated that rankings of search results provided by search engine companies have a dramatic impact on customer attitudes, preferences, and behavior. This is presumably why North American companies now spend more than $20 billion annually on efforts to place results at the top. I'm a marketing guy. I've been in marketing for 20 years. Guys, if a candidate wanted to be on the top 10 pages or top 10 listings of Google, they would have to spend millions, if not hundreds of millions, to get that position. Well, Google, by this manipulation effect, moved these candidates up based on their presidential preferences for the purpose of making sure that candidate won. But let's keep reading. Studies using eye tracking technology have shown that people generally scan search engine results in an order in which they appear and then fixates on the results with the highest rank, even when the lower ranks are more relevant to their search. Higher ranked links also draw more clicks, and consequently people spend more time on web pages associated with higher ranked results. A recent analysis of the 300 million clicks on search engine found that 91% of those were on the first page of search results, 32.5% on the first result, and 17.6% on the second. The study also reported that the bottom of the first page of results drew 140% more clicks than the first item on the second page. So the bottom page produced 140% more than the first on the next page. This phenomenon occurred apparently because some people trust search engine companies to assign higher ranks to the results best suited to their needs, even though users generally have no idea how these get ranked. So basically what Google did, and we're going to talk more about some of the stuff, they forced information about a political candidate they chose to the top with information to back up their agenda, influencing the election. And we're going to talk about how that's actually interference in the elections. And actually, because Google's tied into foreign companies, it's foreign interference in an election. Stick with me. Why do search rankings elicit such consistent browsing behavior? Part of the answer lies in the basic design of search engine results. For more than a century, research has shown that the items positioned on a list has powerful and persuasive impacts on subjects' recollection and evaluation of that item. Specific order effects such as primacy and recency show that the first and last item presented on a list, respectively, are more likely to be recalled than items in the middle. Primary effects in particular have been shown to have favorable influence on the formation of attitudes and beliefs, enhance perceptions of corporate performance, improve ratings on a survey, and increase purchasing behavior. More troubling, however, is the finding that primacy effects have a significant impact on voting behavior, resulting in more votes for the candidate whose name is listed. Here's what's crazy. This is what else they found. That a candidate who's listed number one on a ballot has a higher chance of getting voted. People just check it just because it's the first one on the list. Although primacy effects have been shown to extend hyperlink. Oh, wait, hold on. In one recent study, primacy accounted for 15% gain in votes for the candidate listed first. Although this effect has been shown to extend a hyperlink clicking behavior in an online environment, no study that we're aware of has determined whether the deliberate manipulation of search engine rankings can be leveraged as a form of persuasive technology in elections. Given the power of order effects and the impact that search rankings have on consumer behavior, we ask that deliberate manipulation of search engine rankings. We've asked whether deliberate manipulation of search engine rankings pertinent candidates in political elections could alter the attitudes, beliefs, and behavior. Okay, it's all. I'm keep going. There's a lot of information. It's already well established that biased media sources. Listen to this. This is huge. Pay attention to this. This is very, very, very important because it's going to tie in to the next thing I'm going to say and why this is a big deal. It's already established that media sources such as newspapers, political polls, and television sway voters. A 2007 study by Della Vinga and Kaplan found, for example, that whenever the conservative-leaning Fox television network moved into a market in the United States, conservative votes increased. A phenomenon they labeled called the Fox effect. These researchers estimated that biased coverage by Fox News was sufficient to shift 10,757 votes in Florida during the 2000 U.S. presidential election, more than enough to flip the deciding state in the election, which was carried by the Republican candidate who won only by 537 votes. The Fox News effects was also found to be smaller in television markets that were more competitive. Here's the idea. We're going to learn a lot here in the next few minutes. That basically the power that Fox, CNN, ABC, Google, Instagram, all these companies have in persuasion is actually an interference in our elections. And this guy, who's a liberal or center liberal, is releasing this information. Now, here's what I want to talk to you about now. So that's my first point. So stick with me, okay? Share. This is really good information. Now, I want to talk to you guys, and we're going to go over a lot of stuff that you're waiting for me to hear here in just a second. Stick with me because I want you to get this, because we got to get this into the minds and hearts of people that need to do their homework. This is very, very important information, okay? So keep sharing. I want to talk to you guys about this concept, and most, you all have heard of it, called brainwashing. It's been around since the beginning of time. And you think, well, I know what brainwashing means, but I want to show you some stuff that I think is important. During the Korean War, Korean and Chinese captors reportedly brainwashed American POWs held in prison camps. Listen to this. Several prisoners ultimately confessed to waging germ warfare. Did you hear what I'm saying? That these POWs were so brainwashed that Korea had this program that they created to brainwash POWs that when they came out and when they were finally released, these people in their brains believed that they actually released germ warfare, even though they didn't do it. This program that I'm telling you about here in a second is so powerful, this way of brainwashing, that people came out of prisoner of war camps telling people that they were the ones that did the germ warfare. Here's what is interesting, that by the end of this time, these prisoners of war actually pledged allegiance to communism by the end of their captivity freely. This is we're talking about this because we're entering into communism, and people are just going, it's like this. You ever seen like the light that puts people in a daze? This is what's happening, guys. We are being put in a subconscious manipulation right now that is causing us to drift towards communism, and they don't even see it. They don't realize it. And let me explain how it happens. This is powerful, okay? So these POW people were so persuaded by these techniques that they admitted to causing germ warfare and by the end pledged their allegiance to communism. And these guys were completely against communism when they went in, but they believed it with all their heart when they came out. Okay. In psychology, the study of brainwashing is really called thought reform. And I'm going to share this because this is what Google, this is what CNN, this is what ABC, this is what all these stations are doing. And I'm going to explain how it works. This is important. This thought reform falls into the sphere of social influence. Marketing people do this all the time. I've been in marketing for 20 years. People take a company, you can take a company that has a horrible reputation and change the thoughts just by putting information into people's heads, okay? Social influence happens every minute, every day. It's a collection of ways in which we can change other people's attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors, okay? Check this out. I'm going to read this, but I want to spend about 5 minutes on this, but it's really, really good. In the late 50s, psychologist Robert J. Lifton studied former prisoners of Korean War and Chinese war camps. He determined that they'd undergone a multiple-step process that began with attacks on the prisoner's sense of self and ended with what appeared to be a change in beliefs. Lifton ultimately defined a set of steps involved in the brainwashing, and they are, guys, this is getting interesting. I'm going to talk to you because this is what has happened in 1 year. What I'm getting ready to share with you has happened in 1 year. And I'm going to read the steps, and I'm going to make sense of it so you understand the magnitude of this. So there's what I say, 6 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps, whatever. So it's number 1, assault on identity. Guys, I want you to listen. This is big stuff. Assault on identity, guilt, self-betrayal, breaking point, leniency, compulsion to confess, channeling of guilt, releasing of guilt, progress and harmony, final confession, and rebirth. Hear me out. I'm going to go over each one of these because I want you to get what has happened to us through the media, through Google, through Instagram over the last year. Okay? The first one is an assault on identity. You are not who you think you are. This is a systematic attack on a target's sense of self, also called identity or ego, and it's their core belief system. The agent denies everything that makes the target who he is. You're not a soldier. You're not a man. You're not defending freedom. The target is under constant attack for days, weeks, or months to the point that they become exhausted, confused, and disoriented. In this state, his beliefs seem less solid. Let me explain how this works. Guys, I'm CNN, and I want to tell you that this coronavirus is killing people. It's killing people all over. People all over the world are dying. Guys, you have to mask up. You have to stay inside. You can't go to church. And you know what? It appears that Trump is a dictator and that Trump doesn't care about your mental well-being, that Trump doesn't have a plan for COVID, okay? This is the first step. Then they move on to this next part, and the next part is guilt. You're bad if you don't believe this. While the identity crisis is setting in, the agent is simultaneously creating an overwhelming sense of guilt in the target. He repeatedly and mercilessly attacks the subject for any sin the target has committed, large or small. He may criticize the target for everything from the evilness of his beliefs to the way he eats too slowly. The target begins to feel a general sense of shame that everything he does is wrong. What do you mean? What, you mean to tell me that you don't care that people are dying? You don't see that all over the news media people are dying and you aren't going to wear a mask? You don't care. You are a worthless sack of crap. You must be a Trump supporter, right? People are dying and you don't care. Anyone experienced this guilt in the last 12 months? Or, well, I guess it's not been 12 yet, 11 months? Let's go to the next phase. Self-betrayal. Agree with me that you're bad. Once the subject is disoriented and drowning in guilt, the agent forces him, either with the threat of physical harm or a continuance of the mental attack, to denounce his family, friends, and his peers who share the same wrong belief system that he holds. This betrayal of his own beliefs and of people he feels a sense of loyalty to increases the shame and loss of identity the target is already experiencing. Anybody been felt this? Listen to this. He denounces. I mean, then people denounce. I can't believe you are my brother. You are my neighbor. You are my friend. Guys, I've had people in the church come after me. They've said, Michael, I can't believe you don't believe in Black Lives Matter and that movement. So sad. And guys, self-betrayal. People start betraying us. You ever paid attention to that? Notice? Let's go on. Then you come into a point number, 4 or whatever? Breaking point. Who am I? Where am I and what am I supposed to do with this identity crisis experiencing deep shame and having been betrayed what was always believed in? The target may undergo what is in lay community is referred to as a nervous breakdown. In psychology, nervous breakdown is really just a collection of severe symptoms that can indicate that any number of psychological disturbances. It may involve uncontrollable sobbing, deep depression, general disorientation. The target may have lost his grip on reality and have feelings of being completely lost and alone. When the target reaches his breaking point, his sense of self-identity is pretty much up for grabs, right? He has no clear understanding of who he is or what's happening to him. At this point, the agent sets up the temptation to convert another belief system that will save him from this misery. How many people do you know, guys, were logical people? They were logical people who didn't believe the mainstream media, but all of a sudden now with all this COVID stuff, they are literally going, I am a robot, right? They're at a breaking point. At this point, there's a temptation to convert to another belief system that will save the target from their misery. Pay attention to this, folks. This is what's happening. We are moving to communism because these same tactics the media is pumping in us. Think, guys, we have thousands of people who have lost total mental clarity on the subject and bought into lies. I'm going to die. My children to die. They're putting masks on their children. Guys, listen to this before we go any further. Less than 124 kids from 14 and under have died from COVID. Less than 124. Guys, there's over 60 million people in the United States in this age group. And only 124 people in that age group have died. And parents are putting masks on these children. Guys, listen to this. Check this out. You know what that statistic is? 124 people as compared to 60 million. You know what the percentage of your chance of your kid dying from COVID is? 0.000000207. That's your chance of dying from COVID if you're in the 14 and under age bracket. Let me say that again. It's 0.000000207. That's from birth to 14. Here's what's crazy. There's 9,173 children between 1 and 14 die every year. That's between 1 and 14. That's not birth. That's not birth to 1. If you add 11,300 newborn babies and then you add another 10,000 or so babies from 1 or from newborn to 1, you get at about 30,000 deaths in that 1 to 14 age group a year. So you got 30 to 35,000, okay? So the chance of a child dying from COVID is 0.004%. But somehow we think we have to mask our children. And I was at the store, I was at Wendy's the other day, and I was watching this lady touch everything in Wendy's, and then she was touching her kid's mask all over the place. Lady, are you crazy? You think that really works? By the way, my statistics, I found out that was wrong. It's actually on 118 deaths. But here's the idea. Check this out. I'm going to share this. This is crazy. I'm getting distracted for a second, but pay attention. Since Biden became president, WHO, which is the World Health Organization, said the PCR test, it's the test that most people are using, is not reliable. Do you guys know that the person that invented that test is now dead because they came out and said it is not accurate? Let me explain why they said it's not accurate. They said if you keep it in your nose or wherever it goes, I haven't had one, long enough, it will pick up all kinds of bacteria and will give all kinds of false positives. That person who invented this study or invented this test is now accidentally dead. The CD, since Biden has been in office, which he's not in office, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, the CD says the CDC, Center for Disease Control, is now saying, after Biden got in office, deaths have been highly exaggerated. The AME, the American Medical Association, said HCQ, I always forget how it's pronounced, hydroxychloroquine or whatever, works beautifully and there's no side effects. American Medical Association is now saying that since Biden has been in office, which he's not in office. We're going to talk about that. That's American Medical Association, guys. All of a sudden, they're all coming out and going, oh, wow, look at this. Isn't that crazy? PCR test is not available. Who said that? CDC said deaths have been highly exaggerated, which we've all been saying from the get-go. Ha ha! American Medical Association said HCQ works beautifully and there's no side effects. Then why the hell did you take it off the market? Because brainwashing. Listen to this. Listen to this. You ready? You ready for the bomb? You ready? Merck, the pharmaceutical company, Merck came out today and said they are not going to develop a vaccine. They said research shows that it's better for COVID to run its course. They said natural immunities will extinguish it and that your immune system will ultimately take care of it. Now, they had one disclaimer in there for people that have huge health issues. Like they told them, make sure you still wash hands and clean your ears and all this other kind of stuff. Merck said, let me say this again, they're not going to develop a vaccine. They said research shows that it's better for COVID to run its course and that your immune system. Well, isn't that interesting, Merck, that you waited until after Biden got in office? Did you guys know California, Michigan, Virginia, and a bunch of others are now open for business? Well, how convenient. All right. Here's the idea. We're going to believe something from a guy like Bill Gates who's into eugenics. Come on, folks. Okay, let's go back to this. Let's go back to our psychology thing here. Breaking point. We've been so bombarded with lies that we arrive, and what's happened is we've arrived at people. We've been so bombarded. These people have been so bombarded that they come to a breaking point. They come to a breaking point where they've been so pumped with the media saying, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to... False information, but we believed it. Everybody believed it. I'm not saying Corona is not real. We'll talk about that some other time. But the idea is total manipulation of truths and facts. HCQ doesn't work. Let's take all this kind of stuff. So what happens is, guys, they've so been bombarded with the lies. Here's what they do. They realize, oh no, I realize Joe Biden is a complete moron, but he's the only one that can save us. This is the break. This is where we've come to. Okay, then the next part of that psychological thing, the next one is leniency. Leniency is this idea where this person, the savior, comes in and says, I can help you. With a target in a state of crisis, the agent offers some small kindness or reprieve from the abuse. He may offer the target a drink of water or take a moment to ask the target what he misses about home. In the state of breakdown resulting from an endless psychological attack, the small kindness seems huge, and the target may experience a sense of relief and gratitude completely out of proportion to the offering, as if the agent has saved his life. Guys, listen, Biden has a solution. He will save the world, not Trump. Trump hates you. Trump is a dictator, but Biden has a medical plan to save the world, and people bought it hook, line, and sinker, even though only 25% of the population voted for Biden. We'll talk about that here in a second or two. But the idea is people bought it. The media has made Trump look like a dictator, and judges all across the world and everybody has gone nuts. The Senate, the House, everyone, people are freaked out. Biden has a solution. He cares for you. The man that is okay with murdering 800,000 babies a year somehow cares about the health and well-being of you. Come on, people. Are we stupid? Here's what you're supposed to do. Just accept the results. It's better to... Now, this is what's happening. This is what's happening, guys. Guys, it's better, let's just accept the results that Biden has won, and despite the fact that the election was totally illegal and violated federal laws and the election was rigged, let's just move on. Wrong. Guys, people have given in. Let's go to the next phase, compulsion to confession. You can't help yourself. For the first time in this brainwashing process, the target is faced with the contrast between the guilt and pain of identity assault and a sudden relief and leniency. The target may feel a desire to reciprocate the kindness offered to him. At that point, the agent may present the possibility of confession as a means to relieving the guilt and pain. I'm just going to vote for Biden. I'm just going to do it because there was just only one way out of this corona thing. Channeling of guilt. This is the next phase. Channeling of guilt. This is why you're in pain. After weeks of months of assault, confusion, breakdown, and moments of leniency, the target's guilt has lost all meaning. He's not sure what he's done wrong. He just knows he's wrong. This creates something of a blank slate that lets the agent fill in the blanks, and he can attach that guilt, that sense of wrongness, to whatever he wants. The agent attaches the target's guilt to the belief system the agent is trying to replace. The target comes to believe in this belief system that is the cause of shame. The contrast between the old and new has been established. The old belief system is associated with psychological agony, and the new belief system associated with the ability to escape that agony. Guys, this is exactly what's happened. The media has completely 100% brainwashed us. It's exactly what's happening. Guys, number one, we had 0 coronavirus in January of this last year. Number two, Democrats knew they couldn't win with the power of Trump. They knew Trump was going to eat their shorts. As a result, they had to use standard brainwashing techniques through the use of the media and the coronavirus. Simply put, they created completely illogical social distancing rules. Think about it. Close your churches and your businesses. Oh, we've got to do this. Completely illogical social distancing practices. Wait. But yet we let Black Lives Matter and Antifa raid our streets with thousands of people on the streets. And people bought it. They bought it. There's still people walking around. If you've ever been in, I go into like Publix or all these places and I walk in, I don't have a mask on, and people are like, you're an evil man. Oh, I'm so evil. Guys, let me explain what's happening. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Now, do you guys see what's happening? Do you see how prisoners of war in Korea came out of Korea telling people they created that they were the problem, that they were the ones that it just blows me away that mind control has this much power over humans, and we have bought it hook, line, and sinker. And your friends are still buying it hook, line, and sinker. All right. That's number two. I took a little longer on that one. Now we're going to go to is Biden, Joe Biden, Joe JB. Is he the commander in chief? Is Joe Biden the commander in chief? The answer is 100%, absolutely zero chance of Joe Biden being the commander in chief. He is an illegitimate president. And I'm going to break some of this down for you tonight. All right. 75 million people watched as Joe Biden and Kamala were sworn into office. We're going to talk about what really went down and what's going down right now. All right. Before we go any further, let me welcome all of you guys. Man, there's a good crowd tonight. Scott, Andrew, David, Kelly. You guys enjoying this? We having fun yet? Everybody having Kevin Thompson, Mark, Todd, Teresa, Chris. Thank you, Teresa. I already have a savior. Woohoo! Andrew, yes, Julie, Tina, Rachel. So Pam. Anyway, Jennifer Ziegenfuss. Thanks. Let's keep going. This is fun. Let's go. All right. So we're going to talk about why Joe Biden is not our president and he is illegitimate. Number one, in 2018, Trump signed an executive order to detect and protect and prevent any attempt to subvert free and fair elections. And on November 3rd of 2020, provisions of other order included advanced assignments of duties by intelligence agencies to investigate and protect against any foreign interference. That's why he established CISA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. It was basically to capture this information. Okay. The order included specific times scheduled for precautions and surveillance to be in place for investigations and reporting by federal intelligence agencies of any instance of unlawful conduct. These events were to be reported to the Director of Intelligence, John Ratcliffe. We'll talk about him in a second. He is the Director of National Intelligence. Okay, so the DNI was directed to compile the summary report of his findings and deliver it to the president after the November elections. Though delayed by the CIA from the original date set by Trump, the DNI determined that numerous unlawful actions, including interference and collusion by foreign governments in concert with American citizens and government officials, did in fact occur. In summary, the president was officially notified that identified foreign governments concluded with American actors to subvert and compromise the federal elections. Okay, and there's loads of proof, and I'm not going to go into detail. There's other stuff I'm going to get to here in a second that I'm going to go over that's really good, guys. Good stuff. Fact number 3, based on the DNI report and related intelligence, President Trump invoked the Insurrection Act, placing authority and responsibility upon the U.S. military, commanding them to proceed with their statutory duties to defeat this insurrection and preserve the constitutional government. Foreign governments reported to be involved with American nationals included United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, France, Italy, China, and the Vatican. Guys, it's crazy. Most of you have heard there's tons of foreign interference. The biggest one that I think was the biggest shocker was that the Vatican had this Leonardo system that basically connected to Frankfurt, Germany, and manipulated the votes. Now, check this out. What's her name? Emily, whatever, with is it Emily? With the CIA and her team ran over to Frankfurt, Germany to capture the data before any of the, we'll call those are the black hats, before the white hats. Well, Trump knew this was happening, sent the white hats over, got the data before there was actually a physical confrontation. Gina Haspel is her name. Gina, that's what it is. Gina Haspel. She's been gone for a long time. She's since resigned. I question if she's not in locked up. But anyway, and I can send you guys some links to some of this stuff. Fact 4, prior to leaving the White House, Trump had an acting Secretary of Defense, Christopher Miller, to work with Pentagon, ordering over 30,000 troops to Washington, D.C. Actually, the total that ended up coming in was like 65,000, some underground, some above. The troops were not ordered by the Congress, Senate, or anyone else for the protection of Biden. This action was solely based on the DNI report, which led to the Insurrection Act being executed. 9-foot fences with barbed wire were placed around the Capitol. the Supreme Court, and all other government buildings, while the military closed down all entry points in and out of Washington, establishing checkpoints. Number 5, Joe Biden was denied by the Pentagon the use of a government plane to bring him and his administration to Washington, D.C. on January 20th. This is not normal, folks. This does not happen. Okay? Fact 6, the week leading up to the inauguration, the Pentagon blocked information going to the Biden administration 5 different times. It also reported as of today, Joe Biden still does not have security clearance with the Pentagon. Okay? Nor receive national security information. Fact number 7, during the inauguration, Biden was not given a 21 gun salute by military officers. A detail was given to President Trump on January 20 of 2017 and all other presidents before. Fact 18, listen to this, Biden's live inauguration was recorded multiple separate times in 2 different parts. News channels from other countries like Spain and Portugal reported to have seen the inauguration ceremony 10 hours before it actually occurred, which is a violation of federal law. Just by the way, the fact that he was inaugurated supposedly, even under their terms, like 8 or 10 or 11 minutes before, also makes it illegitimate. We're going to talk about some more illegitimate stuff here in a second. Also, if you watch the playback, many viewers were able to point to discrepancies that would nullify the idea of a live stream inauguration. According to the mainstream media, Biden was sworn in 11:48, which would also mean 2 presidents for a short time. Now, here's what's interesting. If you watch cameraman, there is a, it's completely overcast, but then at the same time, there's some pieces are completely sunny. Crazy. Okay. Fact number 9, Trump left the White House with Melania and said his farewell speech at the Andrews Air Force Base, returning to Mar-a-Lago, also known as the Winter White House. By the way, and I'm going to share with you some stuff about that here in a second. Before Biden was scheduled to be sworn in, the nuclear codes were on Air Force One when he landed in Florida. Fact number 10, it was recorded that hundreds of National Guard and military did not salute Biden's motorcade as it drove to the Capitol, but instead turned their backs and faced the opposite direction. That would never, ever happen. These guys would be totally reprimanded for this. Fact number 11, Biden and his wife were locked out of the White House for hours on the scheduled inauguration day. This is my favorite one. Fact number 13, this is interesting. Q had talked about a 10-day blackout. At this point, it's been, 8 days? There's been, the White House has been black for 7 to 10 nights straight, and it starts at 11 and it goes black. Okay? Video evidence showing a lot of that. Video evidence, the White House, lights have been out with no signs of movement since January 20th. Witnesses on the ground in D.C. corroborate his inauguration. It was also noticed that the lights were turned off at the Washington Monument for 3 sequential nights. There's photos. You can pull that up. Man, it's crazy spooky. It's crazy spooky. Fact 14. On one instance, the media showed Biden in the Oval Office signing blank executive orders. However, viewers noticed that there were cars directly outside the Oval Office. Guys, there's no cars outside the Oval Office. Are you kidding me? Go see for yourself. It's crazy. Fact number 15. Castle Rock Studios in California designed and currently maintains an exact replica of the Oval Office that has been used in movies like Independence Day and shows like The West Wing. Also in 2019, the Tyler Perry Studios built another exact replica of the Oval Office in parts of the West Wing at his Atlanta-based studios. Reports have surfaced from employees stating that Joe Biden and some of his administration had been seen touring Tyler Perry Studios multiple times in the last 3 months. Now, if you go on, you can go on to the movie and see if you can find clips of Independence Day I think it's an Independence Day, the 1996 Castle Rock set, and you will see the images of that set are identical to Biden's newly redecorated Oval Office. Okay, one of the things you're also going to notice in these photos that Biden's desk is darker. You're going to notice the curtains in Biden's office are wrinkled significantly. Pretty much don't think you'd see that in the White House. Also think that there's stripes in Trump's yellow and white stripes or something in Trump's White House and not in this other. Okay. All right. So that's that. Okay. And guys, tons and tons and tons and tons. I don't have time to go into all the information. Here's what we need to know about that. We're going to go into a lot more here in just a second. Guys, here's the deal. Even if Biden was somehow in the White House, which I don't believe he is, even if that's true, he's there illegally. And let me tell you this, it doesn't matter if there's voter fraud. It doesn't even matter. There were 6 states that violated election laws. And let me read this to you again, okay? The Constitution clearly states the times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be described in each state by legislative thereof, but the Congress may at any time, by law, make or alter such regulations. That's Article 1, Section 4. What do I mean by that? And I've shared this a million times. 6 states, there's actually now another one. I think it was like Wyoming or something like that. They've now found out, so it's actually growing, that number is growing, that 6 states, what happened is during COVID, the 6 states, the election officials and the governments changed election rules weeks or a month before the elections to accommodate for this COVID crap, okay? Well, they can't. The state legislators have to pass those laws, or the Congress. It cannot be done by the states. So as a result, those electors could not be passed on to Pence when he went before Congress and the House. That is it's a violation of election laws, and it's punishable by treason. Well, the fact that we've been in a state of emergency for, I can't remember, it's a month or something like that, it's actually considered high treason, which is punishable by death. And anyone who participated in either process, in the swearing in on inauguration, is also guilty of treason, and because it's a state of emergency, it's high treason. Okay. Let's go back to my notes. All right. So ultimately what I mean by that, and let me share the magnitude of this. Every single person that participated in the inauguration, number one, if they had any evidence, if they had any foreknowledge of interference in the election, they're guilty. And 2, they're guilty because they violated election laws. So it doesn't matter what people say, guys, about fraud. It doesn't matter. The election laws were violated. I don't even know why even people go to this election fraud stuff, because it doesn't matter. It's election laws were violated, plain and simple. Okay, you can't do that. All right. Now these are just bullet points. You guys ready for some bullet points? First of all, let me see if there's anybody have any questions. All right. I'm just looking here. Video stopped. Is it? I hope it's not stopped now. Am I on? Still? I assume I'm still on. We ready for a lot more information? Are we ready? Let me just make sure I'm an hour in, almost an hour in. I'm just make sure I'm still on. As far as I can see, I'm still showing it on my phone. So I'm going to keep going. Everybody still sticking with me? All right. Got a lot more information. A lot more information. I got thumbs up, thumbs up. There, give me the thumbs up thing. Share the video, share the video, share the video. All right, we're going into some more stuff. All right, hold on. I am burning up. I got a sweatshirt on, and I'm going to take this off because I am burning up. All right. All right, let's keep digging. Yesterday. All right, still with me? Not every day I change my clothes on camera. Yesterday, General Flynn said the next couple of days we're going to see some extraordinary historical moments, definitely over the next 30 days. I'm just going to throw some bunch of bullet points at you right now, okay? All right, keep sharing this video. As of today, Lieutenant, and here's another proof that there ain't no way Biden's running the show. The military's running the show right now. Here's another proof of it. Lieutenant General Charles Flynn, which is Michael Flynn's brother, is commander of the U.S. Army Pacific the Pacific side operating out of Hawaii, was appointed today, was it today or yesterday? Guys, Joe Biden is not going to appoint General Charles Flynn. Are you kidding me? Commander of the Army in the Pacific? Are you kidding me? Did I say specific? Anyway, let's keep going. Again, every 6 to 7, the last 6 to 7 days, White House has not had power. There is officially, and I've been on to the And I looked recently, there's no executive order. You can go on and find out all the executive orders that he's signing. There's actually no executive order reported on the typical, and I can't remember the website listed, on the Keystone Pipeline. It's not listed. You see a bunch of them listed with like racial issues and diversity. I'm just weird stuff, but you don't see anything on the Keystone Pipeline. People are like, well, what about all these people that are getting fired? Guys, think about it. You got the media coming after you. Your leadership and the Keystone Pipeline stuff. You're going to start laying people off because you're afraid. Guys, shutting off the pipeline was really, really stupid. Why? Because Canada's involved in that. Mexico's involved in that. Other countries are involved. You're going to piss off a lot of people, even though he's not president. But the idea is the media is telling and saying that it's causing a total disaster. When Trump left, here's interesting. The current state of emergency goes until April. And here's the deal. FEMA has more power right now. FEMA has more power than Congress, Senate, or the states, or right now the president. Okay? Just so you know that. FEMA has more. Now, whether they realize that or not, that's why we got to get this information out there. When Trump had to leave, guys, for the military to take over. He just did. I mean, that's what he had to do. Now, we'll talk about some other stuff. You ever heard of DARPA? I think it's DARPA. It's Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. This is an agency directed by the CIA. All right. They are the ones that gave Google and all these other platforms the opportunity to take off. All right. They were started by the CIA. Google and DuckDuckGo are part of that plan. But here's what's interesting. Notice, and I haven't tried it, but someone told me this, that you can't, someone asked me where Sidney Powell is. Let me share something here in a second on Sidney Powell. She said some stuff. Remind me of that. If there's a bunch more comments, remind me of that here in a second. But you can put DuckDuckGo and Google on your phone, but supposedly you can't put yippee.com on your phone. And it's because it's regulating. And I've already told you, Google has a program called SIMI, Search Engine Manipulation Effect. And last time I posted it, I got taken off. My entire Facebook page got shut down because I talked about it. But I'm telling you, Google it. We already talked about it earlier. But anyway, notice that CIA was behind starting helping Google, DuckDuckGo, and others. Okay. There's information out that one of the reasons they shut down schools and that kind of stuff to get kids back home so that they could and put kids on computers and doing computer schoolwork is to increase facial recognition stuff on computers so that they can begin studying and analyzing your children. All right. And there's multiple reasons for that. They can study their mannerisms, how they move, how they interact, etc. All right, some other good news. I'm just a lot of bullet points. Attorney generals from 6 states have sent letter warning Biden that they will challenge any unconstitutional rules or him overstepping his. It's West Virginia, Arkansas, Indiana, Texas, Mississippi, and Montana. They will challenge any executive order. And it doesn't matter. He's not president anyway. We're going to talk about what needs to happen for that here in a little bit. Be careful with a lot of news agencies. Obviously, don't trust CNN or all those stations. Be questionable in Fox. And I understand Newsmax. You got to be careful there too. Governor Newsom in California. People are trying to recall his campaign. Even Silicon Valley now, trying to remove him from office. This is the second or third time. If they get enough signatures or whatever, they can remove him. Biden is here's another one. Biden is being sued over his fake executive order. He signed an executive order to something about some oil and gas executive order. I can't remember which one that he supposedly signed, but the idea is to ban oil and gas leases on public land. So the executive order was to ban oil and gas leases on public land. Here's the deal, guys. One of the reasons he's being sued for is it violates Mineral Leasing Act, National Environmental Policy Act, and the Federal Lands Policy Act. So anyway, he's being sued for that. Most of you know that if Biden, he cannot go to the Ukraine. If he does, he's already guilty, and they're going to arrest him for 500 is it $500 million or something that he stole from them. I mean, if he goes there, I hope he does. He goes to jail. Right now, there are still can't remember how many. I think it's 6 very solid court cases of that are surfacing now based on more evidence, and this evidence is very, 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 very solid of election fraud, which I don't know why they're going there, because ultimately just go against the fact that he violated election laws. But anyway, they're still going there, and there's proof of it. And the proof is so evident that, and it's going to be in one of the cases, one of the big ones is in a, I think it starts, is today Thursday? It goes into a court, and it's a federal judge that is appointed by Trump, and the evidence is overwhelming. And if that's the case, they can actually, this judge, based on the information, can overturn the election. That it's totally legal. Okay, so anyway, we'll talk about that. There's thousands of pages of affidavits and proof. If the election gets overturned, automatically Trump is president. Just so you guys know that based on the information that these audit people are doing and that have studied the election results, that Trump got 120 million votes and took every state except D.C. Now, a lot of you have heard of Jacera and Nacera, that basically when here's what's going to happen right now, guys. Right now, and I'm going to share this. Please, 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 please pay attention to this. I heard from a really reliable source that the military doesn't want to take action and start arresting as many. There's been a bunch of arrests already, and we'll talk about it here in a second. They don't want to take action unless at least 70% of Americans are seeing the reality, that they want the information to get out so that people, they don't want, think of it like this, guys. The military is there to fight for us, and they're there to defend us, and they're there to take Biden out of the office and take the entire administration down. But they don't want it to cause civil unrest and people start carrying their guns and going crazy. So they want, honestly, in many ways, I think people want to see how crazy Biden is. Was it 37 executive orders? Or they're not really executive orders anyway. But the idea is they want the public to know this. The military is asking us to get the information out so that people can see how crazy this is. And I think, I know a lot of people are like, okay, I cannot believe all this crap is happening now. They're seeing it for the first time. Once the new truth comes out, then the military can do more. Okay. So anyway, when that happens, there will be, under this new Nasara law, there will be another election. Okay. It's supposedly we have 120 days to make that happen. Foreign interference. Let me talk about foreign interference in election. Now, I've shared this before, but basically, when he signed the executive order in 2018 about foreign interference in election, that means any institution that has any, let's say Google is owned, has some kind of ownership or whatever in a foreign entity, and they show that Google is manipulating search engine results, that's foreign interference in election. They found that the Vatican was involved in foreign interference elections. But what's interesting about that executive order says the United States has power and the authority to take all their assets. So basically, if Google, if it's shown, which they've already have, Dr. Robert Epstein showed it, that basically all that property of Google or whoever becomes property of the U.S. government or the Vatican, or it doesn't matter if they're involved at all in foreign interference elections. So if they can show, which they can, CNN, ABC, CBS, Fox, if they participate at any level and there's any foreign, actually there's already evidence that a lot of these news media stations will be shut down. So anyway, the idea is, and most of you have heard of the 1871, what's it called? The 1871 thing. that basically in 1871 that we moved from a republic to a corporation. Well, word is out that, and this is multiple sources are saying this, that Trump released us from that corporation and moved us back, and I believe it's on 4th of July of this year, moved us back to the republic, meaning that really the current United States, as we know it, all of Washington D.C. Here's what's interesting: when that happens, basically the act of 1871, basically D.C. became a foreign entity, ultimately owned by someone else, and it's like, it's like, and I talked about it in my last video. The idea is because of that, that anyone involved now in D.C. Has also participated in foreign interference. And again, it's on my last video. Go watch that. Okay, so what this amounts to, if the military does what they're supposed to do and things change, or maybe we have this person that, this judge that overturns the elections, or whatever the case may be, however it works itself out, basically we would have a new inauguration date of March 4th. Okay. Let's see, a couple other things. The January 6th thing, the big raiding the Capitol, they found out they actually traced funds back to Alex Soros, not George Soros. A lot of people believe George Soros is now gone. And I'm not going to explain what gone is because I don't want to say anything and get deleted off Facebook. But they found that funds were moved. They have all the proof back to Alex Soros and the Progressive Lawyers Guild. And I don't know much about the Progressive Lawyers Guild. All right. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to break it down. I've got different notes on this, but there's increasing threats of war between Israel and Iran, and China is pushing Iran to go to war with Israel. Guys, it's a bad idea to go to war with Israel. It's just a really bad idea. God is on their side. Taiwan is involved in this mess too. Taiwan being on our side. Let's see here. A couple of other things. Saudi Arabia has a new embassy in Tel Aviv, which was in Israel, which most people know that. That's huge, 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 which means Saudi Arabia will be involved if there is a war. Saudi Arabia's got tons of money and tons of military. Remember that Trump orchestrated a peace treaty between Israel and Tel Aviv, or Israel in Tel Aviv, between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Okay, here's what's interesting. Under President Trump, he made an agreement to sell F-35s to Saudi Arabia. Now, remember, Biden wanted to find out what was going on, so he went to the Pentagon about that, and they wouldn't give him the information. All right. Oh, a lot of people wonder if a lot of arrests are happening. There's supposedly a lot of low-level arrests. And what you're seeing right now, and I publicized it yesterday, help me here, was it like the president or the vice president of Apple and the vice president of Microsoft resigned yesterday? Really, guys? You think those are resignations? I mean, there's tons and tons and tons and tons of massive resignations. And actually, there has been for over the last year, massive resignations. And people are saying, oh, they're just shifting people. Oh, no, I have a feeling it has everything to do with arrest being happening. Lots of hospitals and CEOs lots of CEOs of hospitals are stepping down. Tons of corporate resignations, guys. I don't believe those are resignations. I believe those are arrests. Again, I mentioned this earlier. California, Illinois, Virginia, and Michigan are now open for business. How convenient. There's no more longer a problem there. Again, military doesn't want to proceed with arrest until 70% of the public is awake. Guys, we got to push this information. I mean, I don't care whether people believe 100% of it. I'm just giving you information. But the idea is, it doesn't matter. Biden is not our president. He is a fraudulent, illegitimate president based on the United States Constitution. It's that simple. Okay. A lot of you have been wondering if John F. Kennedy Jr. is alive. I'm hearing more and more reports that he is. I don't care if you believe that or not. I don't know if I believe it or not. But there's posts coming out from supposedly some page that he has. Believe this or not, I don't really care. Again, I don't care if people believe this. But they're announcing January 31st as Freedom Day. and that March 3rd, he and Carolyn would be on OAN. And he's also announcing on this page Trump inauguration on March 4th and a new nation on March 5th. Whatever. Take that for whatever, just for funsies. If you don't want to believe it, I don't really care because I'm not sure if I do. Okay, we learned yesterday that NASDAQ, the Wall Street, all that kind of stuff has been manipulating markets. The Fed has also been manipulating us. The NASDAQ came out, was it tonight, that said they may have to shut down because of all the internet publicity, and they're anxious and they're afraid of a total crash. That people are going to realize when the truth gets out. Okay. Here's another one. Biden supposedly fired all these Trump people, but none of them are on the registry for unemployment. Oh, here it is. 20 cases of election fraud are still in court. So there's 20 court cases of election fraud still going to happen. Okay. Here's what's crazy. This is the big one. Ready for this one? This is the big one. The person who wrote Hammer and Scorecard or created Hammer and Scorecard is testifying on election fraud this week. I don't know if it's the end of this week or whatever it is. He's testifying. That's huge, guys. I can't remember the person's name. Didn't write it down. The evidence for court cases involving 5 states. Evidence is irrefutable. Some are saying it could be resolved by this Friday. So what is that, tomorrow? Again, judge can overturn election. Another one, January 7th, entire United States corporation was bankruptcy, and the bankruptcy was closed. I'm trying to find that record. Someone said they were going to post it on their site. So if anybody has that, check that out. Here's another one. The CIA can make anyone look like anything. Basically, they can make Biden or whoever look like they're in Oval Office. So it's very possible CIA is involved. Here's an interesting thing, and this was reported, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but everything that Trump has done in the past 3 weeks, it was pre-recorded, which I believe, because there was no reference to anything in a lot of his presentations. Anyway, Biden can't stop the pipeline, which we already talked about. He can't step in the foot in the Pentagon. Here's another one. Biden legally, because of what he did in Ukraine, can't serve as president. He's already been convicted over there. They want him extradited. They want him sent there, which would be great. Wouldn't that be fun to pack him up and send him over there? Here's another one. Judge ruled Virginia election board violated law with late absentee mail-in ballot rules. So that was another one. That was one of the states that was not in it initially. Last August, the Virginia Board of Elections issued a rule that would have allowed election officials to count late mail-in ballots that arrived without a postmark up to 3 days after November election. On Monday, a state judge ruled that the board's decision was illegal. That's what all that's about. Okay. Google is now threatening to deplatform Telegram. Isn't that crazy? Again, Vice President of Apple and Microsoft resigned yesterday. It's not in his executive. There's a place all the executive orders are. Let me find it. Let me see if I can find it here. You guys can go to it. It's QPubli. That's not it. I took it down. No, here it is. Federal Registrar. It's Federal Register.gov and /presidential-documents/executive-orders. And it basically goes over all the executive orders. And most of the ones people are talking about are not listed on there. So don't get your panties in a wad. So what else? Supposedly our illegitimate JB signed an executive order yesterday in effect that conservative news media sources cannot be in newsrooms because he probably hired. Have you ever watched that bonehead he hired as the press secretary? She's awful. Man, we miss who. Anyway, let's see here. A lot of insulin thing that, doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that Biden is trying to sign the executive order or whatever it was in regards to insulin pens and EpiPens. It's crazy. That basically shows that Biden's got his hands in deep pockets and the pharmaceutical folks. Um, the deportation, Texas is deporting illegals, and Biden tried to stop that and was sued by Texas and won. Texas can keep deporting illegals. Okay, so um, there was a lot of people in Northern California without power. Uh, Here's what's crazy: the number one trend right now on Google searches is regretting voting for Biden. I love that. That's still so hilarious. SEAL Team 6 supposedly still alive. Interesting. Oh, here's a big one. I love this one. This one's my favorite. Did you guys see, is it CNN or one of them, shows Joe Biden? I love this. It shows Joe Biden getting off a plane. That, obviously he's not able to get on Air Force One or any of these planes. Shows him getting off a plane, and it's not Air Force One. It's a military plane. I can't remember. I pictured it on my Facebook page. This is classic. It shows him getting off this plane as if, I can't remember where it says he's going, but it talks about, oh yeah, Joe Biden. It was a picture of a plane in Iraq that he was getting off of when he went to Iraq, and it's the same plane. It's not a present photograph. It's so lame. I cannot believe that. Go to my Facebook page and watch this classic. I love it. Let's see here. Oh, I don't know if most people know this. Before the elections, there was a battle, a military confrontation over the water between Iran, the Chinese, between Iran and the Chinese with, oh man, I didn't take the notes correctly, and the U.S. And we didn't hear about it, but supposedly it happened. So I'm anxious. I didn't study it hard to know enough about the details. Okay. Here's one of the things people are waiting for. One of the things people are saying is, we want information. We want information. When is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? Well, they've learned that giving the information to the public is not a good idea anymore, to not release any of it, because obviously, why would you release your cards to the enemy? And what happened is the plan, guys, very clearly was to arrest all the people in D.C. on the day of the elections. And what happened is someone from the Biden team threatened the Trump team with something horrible. Some people said it was nuclear. Nobody knows what the details was, but it basically halted that plan. And I believe it's because too much information was out there. Another one today, Simon Parks, I was listening to him that he received word that he's not supposed to be giving out information right now, but they were just told to buckle up, that good things were coming. A reporter talked to Trump on a golf course today. Trump said something to the fact that it's not over or we're not finished. Let's see here. Okay, the inventor of the COVID test, Carrie B. Mullins, died in a miraculous car accident. She was the one that said it's not an accurate study. Oh, here's what's interesting. Here's what's really weird. The COVID task force is now saying that we're going to have at least 100 more deaths in February. 100,000 more deaths in February from COVID, whatever. All right. All right. There's a bunch more information, but I think I'll stop there. Anybody? Now we're going to go into a time of questions. All right. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Lori, I'm just going to go over some questions. Let's start with Lori's. Please explain how Biden is able to sign these executive orders and ruin our lives if he's not in control. I'm really struggling with that aspect. Also, why did Trump push the vaccines if they're so dangerous? I'm also struggling with that question. Please answer those questions if you can. I just don't understand this. Okay. Guys, let me start with the vaccine thing. What choice did Trump have? You think he was going to say, I'm not doing vaccines, I'm not doing vaccines, I'm not doing vaccines, I will not do it, no way, we don't need vaccines, we don't need vaccines? No, he was pinned in a corner. He had no choice, because if he said, I'm not doing vaccines, they would have arrested him and called him evil and called him a dictator, which they already did that. So the idea is he had to do that. Number two, the question is, why is Biden able to sign all these executive orders? Guys, we're operating right now under what I'll call like a shadow government or a fake government. It's operating as if it's on the throne, but ultimately it's not. Um, and the military is really in control right now based on our United States Constitution. So Biden's going to continue to play. You're going to see it from the news media. You're going to see it all over the place that he's running the show. But so he's putting a couple of these executive orders on websites and all this kind of stuff. It's still against the law. It's still against the Constitution, and the military has to step in. So we're literally living in a time where we have a defunct government, and it's still playing the part. It's acting the part as if, because it's trying to convince all of us that it's still legal. It is not legal based on the United States Constitution. It's not. We got to get that in our head. I'm gonna go. There's some more questions. Let's see here. Please continue to ask questions. I don't have all the answers, but just ask them anyway. I'm looking on my phone for questions. That's what I'm doing. We will never win a national election as long as cities use Dominion machines. Yeah, that's there's actually a new voting process that's coming out with this new thing now. Obviously, next one thing too to notice about the Georgia elections or the Atlanta or whatever it was, they allowed them to use Dominion again to catch them. So there's a lot of information on that. Where is Sidney Powell? There was the first time Sidney Powell ever said anything was today, or yesterday or today, and I didn't get a lot of information from it. All I got, a lot of people were concerned because she dropped a bunch of court cases. Well, the court cases were time sensitive. They had to happen before January 20th for them to be valid based on the information, based on the lawsuit. So after that date, she couldn't really do much more. That doesn't mean she's not going to continue to do more. The sad thing is, and she was on Parler pretty heavily until Google took them down, or whoever took them down. Okay, there's a Newsmax corresponding on White House lawn, but they never see Biden. Agree. Is Congress and Senate meeting in D.C. right now? That's a good question. I mean, obviously, they're participating in the show. I would think they are because so I think what's happening is okay, let me explain this. You got Democrats, you got Republicans, but you're really inside the Republican Party, there are what's called rhinos. Those are the traitors. And I think they have to meet to try to get things taken care of the right way under the false government, but yet many of them know that the military is in control. Yes, Louisiana Senator Kennedy is terribly upset by Biden's order to end oil and gas. Let's see, the curtains look like curtains in the White House, but without wrinkles. Yeah, agree. Okay, please explain how Biden's. I already said that one. Okay, how are they getting away with everything like the fake White House, etc.? Not a single person in Congress wants to speak up. Guys, here's the deal. These people's lives are in danger. I mean, these people, like, imagine you're in Congress right now and you're either paid off or threatened, and it's your life. So it's a big deal. I believe, yes, Sidney Powell is still working for us. She's actually a military attorney. So, guys, by the way, we don't need to use the Supreme Court anymore. In this situation, it's called military tribunals and military judges. So, by the way, there's 800 from colonels to generals that are heavily behind Trump. Okay. Sue Alban, Kim Clement prophecy. Yeah, Kim Clement back 12 years ago has a really great prophecy of two presidents operating at the same time. If what he says is true, lots of Republican senators would speak up about it. There's no fake White House crap. Oh, get over it, Rio. Feel free to do your homework. And actually, Rio, just go back and listen to this from the beginning. I cannot believe people are still so dumbed down. Here's the deal, Mr. Rio. I don't even know where you came from to begin with, but the idea is election laws were violated. Legally, he's not the president. So it doesn't matter if if half of this stuff is true or not. He's illegal. Get over it. Whatever. Check out Behold Israel Prophecy, teaching on what the Bible says about NWO, Mark of the Beast, WHO, agenda, climate control, and what's next to come. I'm telling you guys, there's biblical prophecies coming out big time. Mike Moran, thanks for joining us. Congress and Senate still meeting in DC. We talked about that. It's crazy. Jack Hibbs says the Constitution has been dead since before Trump. Guys, honestly, the Constitution's really been dead since 1871. When they moved us to a corporation, it really, every law, everything that got put in to the Constitution, or every change or every addition or every whatever is null and void. Yeah, Chris, the real Oval Office is on the second floor. It's not on the. So when you see pictures of Biden, everything looks like it's on the first floor. Are they going to allow witnesses on the impeachment? I'm assuming so. Yeah. I didn't know that. Biden just purchased a DC mansion for $47 million. Where did the money come from? Let's see. Can we turn the impeachment trial to show all the facts? We all have to vote again, or will the election just be overturned? Okay. Okay, the impeachment trial. I think what's going to happen with the impeachment trial, honestly, that's going to show. It doesn't matter, because the people that are operating the impeachment trial are guilty of treason right now. So if the military steps in, it doesn't matter anyway. Guys, here's the deal. Stop thinking about all these things that Biden is doing, and start thinking about the fact that if military steps in, everything's going to be reversed, and Trump won't be impeached because they can't do it anyway. If the impeachment trial were to go, what all that's going to do is expose the deep state. Will we have to vote again, or the election just be overturned? Initially, it will be overturned, and Trump will be the president. Now, Trump wants another election so that he can prove he's not a dictator or whatever. The military at Biden's inauguration were not wearing brass at all. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Anyone? Guys, here's one of the things that I want to talk about now, just really briefly. That there is a movement on both sides for a one world currency, a one world, really on both sides. Scary. The answer is very simple, but at the same time carries with it a lot of baggage. And very simply put, let me share this. Well, let me ask you, there's another question. Who would Trump run against? Obviously, Biden would be arrested, so I don't know at that point how that, I honestly don't know, Andrew. That's a good question. But let me get back to this. We're at a time in history where we have a defunct government. We just do. It is very, very true. The second thing that is happening is we're moving to communism, and it's based on what I shared earlier, heavily moving to communism. And we're at this balance place where we literally have a defunct government that is operating like a government, and then we have a military that's supposed to be stepping in, but they're cautious to step in because they don't want to look like something's fishy. They want to expose Biden for who he is and all this kind of stuff. So what we have is we have really two people who think they're in control, one of which is in control and the other is not and is trying to assume control. What we have to understand something was really interesting. Back in the Old Testament, the Jews were crying out for a king. They were crying for a king, and they were crying for a king, and the priests were leading them spiritually at the time, but they wanted a king. And they got a king, and it didn't turn out too good. But the idea is that God, when God spoke to them about this, is that he was saying, you're missing the point, folks. I'm your king. I'm supposed to be your king. I'm supposed to be the one on the throne, not Trump, not Biden, not Pence, not anyone. Guys, we have to understand right now that if we don't rely, and if we don't put Jesus back on the throne, in this country, it doesn't matter who's on the throne. And right now, Scripture says very clearly, and I've said this a million times, if my people, he's talking to believers here. So if there's, if there's not believers on here, listen, I want you to listen, but I want you to listen to this. The Bible says, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray and seek my holy face and turn from their wicked ways, then I would forgive them of their sin and heal their land. That's it. That's the answer. We've got to repent, and we got to turn, and we got to surrender to the Lord Jesus Christ. Because ultimately, if we don't put him on the throne and we try to put man back on the throne again, we're going to be in the same situation. And guys, here's the deal. We're in a place where biblical prophecy is unfolding before our eyes like crazy. And your security right now, your security is not in Trump. Your security is obviously not going to be in Biden. It's not going to be in the military. Your security is 100%, and whether you think so or not. Guys, there's a study that I'm starting. We're starting church kind of over again at our house on Sundays at 10. You're welcome to come. We're going to go back to Genesis 1:1. And Genesis 1:1, it starts with Barashit bara Elohim. And there's some really powerful meaning in that. But we're going to look even at the Hebrew letters and all that kind of stuff. But Jesus said, I'm the beginning and the ending, the Alpha and the Omega. And he knows how this turns out. And he's written it all out. He's given us warning. Guys, and I've shared this a couple times. The Bible says that a lot of stuff about Matthew 24, 25 about end time, or Matthew 24, I believe it is, about a lot of end time stuff, 23, 24. And one of the things that he talks about is the beginning of birth pains. That's what starts this all out. And the birth pain, what's interesting about birth pains, they're not knee pains or headaches or shoulder pains. Birth pains are unique because they happen, the closer they get, the more intense they get. And it talks about famines and wars and natural disasters and all this kind of stuff. And they've been increasing since 1970. They've increased by 300%. And the closer they get together, the higher they get in intensity and frequency. So guys, the idea is, scientists are calling it global warming, but I'm telling you, it ain't global warming. The Bible's talked about it. The Bible talks about a one world currency. The Bible talks about nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And if you aren't secure in the Lord right now, I'm telling you guys, that's where your security has to be right now. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through me. He also said, we've all sinned and fallen short of God's glory. Guys, none of us are good enough, quote unquote, to get to heaven. And he talks about that all throughout Scripture. But he says our righteousness is like filthy rags. But yet he saved us. He died on the cross so that we could have everlasting life. And over and over and over again in the Bible, it talks about that when that happens, when we accept Christ into our lives, that we have a peace that transcends all understanding. Guys, my plan was to leave the country when Biden got in office. But now what I'm seeing is I don't think he is in office. I know he's not in office. Not whether I think him or not. If he is in office, he's not in there legally and he has to be removed. But the idea is, guys, my security is not in him or Trump or anyone else. It's in Jesus Christ. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a time when, whether it's now or soon, there's a lot of prophecies being fulfilled. You better get your heart right. Accept Christ. I'm telling you, it's the best thing you ever do. The peace that transcends all understanding. But I want to talk about, Ken Clement, I think is what it is. He said clearly that we would have a time. He was a prophet. Said that we would have a time of two presidencies, which nobody. I mean, that was so wacky. And he also said there would be two impeachments. Wow, we're at that time right now. It's crazy. All right. I like that. Rhino, Republican in name only. Yes. Walter said, we know President Trump took the football nuke codes with him to Florida. My question is, here's what's cool. Do your homework on Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago. I always say that wrong. Mar-a-Lago. That place is a stinking fortress. The person that built it, the family that built it, I can't remember who they were, but That place has like 3 or 4 bunkers. It's got those rooms where they're total silence rooms where you go in and you can have a meeting and nobody can hear outside. It's got like 67 bedrooms. Um, but anyway, it's called the President's White House or something like that. That's, you know, I can't remember the formal name of it, but um, anyway, do your homework on Mar-a-Lago. It's pretty cool. Um, okay, Teresa, we're in the end times. Jesus will appear in the clouds for his church, the rapture. Ooh, let's have a rapture party, everybody, right? Ooh, ooh. All right, this is serious, and she's dead on, guys. We are there. Anybody else have any questions, thoughts, comments? I cannot believe I do a hour and 30 minute video. Last time it was almost 2 hours. Please, I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to beg you for this. Please share this video. Please. Guys, this needs to be shared. In particular, the information I shared at the beginning about this whole brainwashing and what Google has done to manipulate election results and all that kind of stuff. Guys, it's profound, and we're in it. We moved in a year basically from a republic almost. Well, it's taken time, but in particular with COVID, we allowed communism just not even come in the back door, but the front door. Um, um, David Jones, I honestly don't think they're allowed to. I've actually seen one Congress get arrested. You can call the White House and see if they're open. I did. They're definitely shut down. Yeah, there's a lot of people calling the White House, and they're. Where's Mike Pence now? I don't know. Ultimately, I don't. Here's my thing. Lynn Wood has come out pretty heavily against Mike Pence, and I trust a lot of what Lynn Wood is saying. By the way, go on to Mercer University, Mercer Law School. They Lynn Wood donated like $1 million to Mercer Law School. I went on and did a review and told them how shameful it was. They removed the building, or not removed the building, removed or planning or talking about removing the building. Anyway, Mike Pence, there is discussion, and I still don't know enough about Mike Pence. There's a discussion that he's still a white hat, and that he had to let this play out. I heard he was back in Indiana. That's what I heard too. Thank you, Andrew. I think so. That's all I heard. Now, if he played the cards like Trump had him play, then he could be a white hat. I don't know. That's one that I'm still waiting to figure out because Lynn Wood doesn't speak very highly. Lynn Wood published there's a video out right now that I posted earlier today that's pretty intense about John Roberts. Go watch that. There's also, I heard, and I didn't even watch the whole video. I probably should have before I posted it. Another really good video about COVID stuff. There's a doctor that's got a lot of really high credentials to tell people not to take the vaccine. Anybody else have anything? Please share this video. Please, guys. This is there's a lot of information on here that's very helpful. And guys, my challenge that ultimately just pray over this. We got to pray. This is a time where we got to be on our knees. And let me share something. I'm going to share something else. Churches that aren't addressing it, shame on them. Shame on them. It is so sad that we live at a time where pastors and churches are afraid to hurt people's feelings, lose their 501c3 status or whatever. Man, it's time to speak up. And guys, it's time to rise up. Yeah, Pence did receive. Now, I don't know if everybody knows really what's for sure in those letters. But yes, he did receive one of the letters. Oh, I'm going to share this. Here's another one. John McCain. I'm going to share this, guys. John McCain was a massive traitor. He was on the top of the list of 33 people who committed treason. He's the one. Nixon pardoned him. Basically, what happened is when he was a POW, he got tortured and released boatloads of information, and actually thousands of people supposedly died because of the information that he released in war. Right after that, Nixon pardoned him. Uh, and right after that, he was in government, and he was there for the rest of his time, and they made him a war hero. But he was responsible, supposedly, for 60 bombings on American troops and thousands of deaths. He had access to high levels of intel from war. Um, it's interesting. I listened to his daughter talk about, and this is off the subject, but I want to talk about this for a second. His daughter talking about how he was put to death, and then what's his name? The guy John Kasich. John Kasich even said he was dead. But here's what's interesting. The reason I want to bring this up is Q made it very clear before John McCain's death that he was going to be put to death, and gave the time and date and everything of his death before it ever came out. I mean, long before it ever came out. They made that very, very public. And for John McCain's daughter to come out and she said it, I thought I had written down what she said about his death, and I must not have. I did, and I don't know where it is, but if you go on, you can watch a video with her saying something and John Kasich saying something. But the idea is they knew about his death, and did not die of cancer. He was put to death for treason. But the idea is, guys, Q's been the one giving us a lot of this information. And there's a lot of information that Q has published that's pretty reliable. And I'm like, whoa, this is weird. So, and I've talked about Q in other videos, so feel free to do that. Anybody else? All right, I'm going to pray us out. If nobody else has anything, agreed. It's no longer about an election. This is good versus evil. It's 100% about good versus evil. Guys, we're literally dealing with good. I mean, it is evident as anything I've seen in my lifetime. So let's pray. Jesus, we want to come to you right now. We want to pray that, God, we are a nation that has turned from you, Lord. Father, we're a nation that has, our leaders are absolute disaster, and they have, a lot of it, Lord, you said that the love of money, not money, but the love of money is the root of all evils. And those in their pursuit for it have fallen from the truth and pierced themselves with many griefs. And I believe that there's a lot of people, Lord, that have a lot of our elected officials have both been threatened and bribed, and it's led us down to this deep path. Actually, it started back when we lost our government, really to the hands of the Federal Reserve and all the money stuff, Lord. And I just pray, God, we have sunk so deep into the pit of corruption that I it's hard even to believe that you still love us and can redeem us, but you can, and you can. And I'm praying for that. And I know there's a lot of people, a lot of churches praying for this, a lot of people praying for this. I just pray, God, that you would forgive us of our sin and heal our land. God, we are begging for we're begging for Trump, we're begging for whoever we're begging for, but ultimately, Lord, we got to put you back on the throne. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, right? And to the republic, not the democracy, the republic for which it stands. But God, ultimately, we are a nation founded on you, and Lord, we need to get back to that. So I pray that we would do that with all of our hearts, but it starts with us. It starts with us believers. So I just pray that, God, you would forgive us and move in our hearts to pray heavily, seek the Lord, and move in a mighty way. In Jesus' name. And guys, I'm going to share this. If you have not received Christ, the Bible says if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe God raised him from the dead, you'll be saved. And part of that confession is a turning away and saying, God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I've lived this crazy, wild life of sin. And maybe you think it's not even crazy or wild, guys. Sin separates us from God, and there's a punishment for that. It's eternal separation. I don't even want to talk about what that is. But the idea, guys, is he loved us so much. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believe in him would not perish but have everlasting life. He said, this is my favorite. Everybody wants to read that verse, but they forget this one. For God didn't send his son to condemn the world. He didn't send his son to condemn you guys. You're already condemned. But to save it. Your sins were put on the cross at Calvary and paid for because Jesus loved, because God loved you so much to take that. And when we receive that, when we believe it, Jesus said, your names are written in the book of life. So my challenge is for you to do that right now. Let me pray that with you. Jesus, I just pray that if there's anyone that hasn't received Christ, that they would do that right now. That they would receive you as Savior and Lord. And Lord, I believe that without any question that they would have peace that transcends all understanding. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Anybody have anything else to finish up with? That's right. Know him. Guys, it's not about a religion. It's about a relationship. Also, I want to challenge you. 2 Chronicles, that's what we talked about just a minute ago. It says one about if my people are called by my name. But here, I'm going to share this too. I encourage you also to study a lot of the demonic stuff around Washington. Guys, the Masons, who did a lot of the development of Washington, there's a lot of occultic stuff in the Masons. And I'm sorry if you're a Mason, but there's a lot of truth. You need to dig deeper. There's a lot of stuff in the Masons that's very dark. All right. Lots of hearts. Man, I'm loving this. Woo! All right, guys. Love you. If you need any prayer, people to pray over you, please message me. Please share this. And God bless. Thanks for watching.